Spanish War, we'll show you that. But the main walls, these walls on your left here, were built by the British. The stone the British used to build these walls came from Italy. You'll notice on top of the walls there's gaps on top. Well, they were put there so that it can take the guns. Because Gibraltar's had 14 sieges. In other words, 14 wars. Okay? The greatest of those, 1772, 1783. That is when the French and the Spanish went into coalition forces to take the British off the rock. Okay? That was a great siege. 1779, 1783.
Spanish.
Okay, half English and half Spanish. Don't ask me to speak it, because I don't. You'll see these walls were now, this is called Wellington Front. 1840 they were built. But even so, it's named after the Duke of Wellington Front. They're so thick, these walls. We've got nightclubs, discotheques, restaurants, ice skating rinks, bowling alleys, multi-screen cinemas, all inside these walls. They look solid, but they're not. Because the soldiers that actually built these used to live inside them. Okay? As I say, these are still the British walls coming along here. But very shortly, you look on your left, and you will see what is left of the Spanish wall. Okay, now this wall, although you see a little bit here, goes right to the very top of the rock. You'll see later on the continuation of this wall. There it is there. It's been there a very long time. That wall's been there since 1540. So it's over 600 years old. But as I say, that wall there, that Spanish wall, is solid. Okay, nothing goes on inside that wall. Same as here. If you look over to your right, it goes right to the very top. The trees in front here are called the Trafalgar Cemetery. Alright? Because there are some sailors who actually died of their wounds and buried there. Okay, they died whilst in Gibraltar. Okay. All this area here is called jumpers. Okay, jumpers buildings. This here is jumpers Bastion. And it got named jumpers because it was Captain Jumper who actually stepped off his ship onto dry land and proclaimed Gibraltar British. And he did that in 1704. Here you can see the name Jumpers on your right hand side. Just over here. It's named after Jumper, you know, Captain Jumper. Schooling in Gibraltar is exactly the same as United Kingdom. The only thing is, Gibraltar's got no universities. So when a child reaches that age, and they want to go to university, then they go to a university of their choice in United Kingdom. Okay? Now the flights to and from Gibraltar and London, the education that the child gets there, the tuition he gets there, is paid for by the Gibraltar government. Okay, so that means when the child finishes university, they come back here without any debt on their heads. Alright? We don't want a child worrying about paying money back. Crime in Gibraltar is very little. We don't get much crime here. The biggest crime I think we get here is the smuggling of cigarettes. But apart from that, very little crime. We get petty crime like anywhere else. But the police in Gibraltar They are the second oldest police force in the world. The oldest police force in the world is the Thames Police in London, the ones that police the River Thames. They are the oldest. They were formed in 1830. 6 months after they were formed, Gibraltar had its police force. I don't think we can see Morocco today because of the inclement weather. Yeah. But even so, if you look on your right there, you'll see a fortification there. That one there. 1856 that was made. Used to have 4 cannons to protect the Bay of Gibraltar. We got 6 beaches in Gibraltar. 3 on this side, which was on the Atlantic side, and 3 on the Mediterranean side. Now the beaches on the Mediterranean side are sand. The ones over here, stone and concrete, man-made. The beach you're going to see now is called Camp Bay. It's especially made for children. This next maneuver, sometimes I make it, sometimes I don't. It gets a bit narrow now.
It's cool.
Okay, this is the beach that was specially made for children. It's called Camp Bay. Now Morocco is right over there to your right. Okay.
Can you see Africa over there, Morocco?
Can you see it? Ah, you can see a little bit of it. Okay, over there. Alright, you can see the top of the mountains there. Okay, that is Morocco. We are 23 kilometers away from Morocco. We get our drinking water, the water that we drink from the taps, from the sea. We bring up the salt water, we take away the salt, and then we drink it. Inside the rock, we have 13 tanks, holding tanks for the water. You should see, just up the road here on your left, a waterfall. This is very, very salty water going back to the sea. We don't require it, so we discharge it back to the sea. We pump it all up again, and the process starts all over again. We're continually making water 24 hours a day. We're never, ever short of water in Gibraltar. Okay? Even during the drought period, we don't. You see this waterfall here on your left?
Wow, beautiful.
Okay, we'll go around. You'll get plenty of time.
Waterfall on your,
on your left there. So that is very salty water going back.
Es agua salada, es agua proveniente del... Porque ha estado comentando que el agua sale del mar, la desalinizan y esa es agua que ya no usan y la vuelven a echar al mar.
Okay, we're going to go through one of the tunnels now. What that lady is doing there is very dangerous, okay? Because you could have a rock fall, and unfortunately it may catch her. So that's very dangerous to do that. It tells you that do not enter.
Danger rock falls, do not enter.
Okay, that's very dangerous to do that. Okay, we're going to go through this tunnel now. This tunnel is called Kingley Way. Okay, when we go out of this tunnel, you'll see on your left-hand side the most southern mosque in Europe. It was paid for by the King of Saudi Arabia, King Fahd, at the cost of over £6 million. You'll see it just up the road here. Okay. There's also a lighthouse up here, which was built in 1841. The mosque, by the way, was built in 1997. So it is a new mosque, or reasonably new mosque. It's not open to the general public, okay? These places of worship are not open, okay? Only if your religion is Muslim. They do call for prayer 5 times a day. But when they do call for prayer, there's no public buses because they're all Moroccan drivers. They all come up here and worship. Okay, there's a mosque there on your left.
La mezquita.
We'll be stopping here, okay, for photos.
Vamos a parar, esto es Punta Europa y tenéis, esta es la mezquita hecha con donaciones del rey de Arabia Saudita, 6 millones de libras costó hacerla. Allí tenéis un faro y ahora esto se llama Punta Europa y nos vamos a parar aquí unos 10 minutillos. So we're going to stop for around 10 minutes, 10-15 minutes. Vamos a parar en unos 10-15 minutos para acercarnos allí, que podemos ver la costa de África y hacernos fotos, etcétera, etcétera.
The best place for photos is over there where the gun is. If they come later than 15 minutes, the bus will be gone.
Si llegáis más tarde de 15...
You got the Atlantic on your right there, the Mediterranean to your left. The water between Gibraltar and Morocco is called the Gibraltar Straits. It's 6 kilometers long, 23 kilometers wide. So you're 23 kilometers away from Morocco today.
Este es el Mediterráneo, ¿vale? El otro es el Atlántico. Una cosa geográfica.
At one time, the army used to look after these monkeys, but that does not happen today. All right? The Gibraltar government, together with the RSPCA. Now the RSPCA is the Royal Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. They look after these monkeys and they feed them. They feed them fruit and vegetables because we need it, they need it. But even so, when the army looked after them, just up the road here, there was a huge building. And at one time, it used to be the military hospital. So when the army looked after these monkeys, they had a room in this hospital just for the monkey. If the monkey had to be brought out of the wild for any reason at all, it would be sedated and put to sleep, treated very quickly, and then released back into the wild. Now you may wonder why they have to do that. Well, these monkeys, they are in contact with humans, and their immune system, in other words, they don't get sick very often, is far better than ours. So they will check it for disease. They will take blood samples from them, and then they tattoo it with a letter and a number. Now the letter will indicate which troop it's from. The number will indicate when it was born and which female gave birth to it. These monkeys are all registered, like you and I, and they all have names. They're all named after famous people. Okay? The famous people don't like it, but even so, they have to live with it. This is what they used to be, the military hospital. That building was built in 1902. I told you that Gibraltar has been British since 1704. Now, to make sure that it stays British, a treaty was signed between England and Spain. And this treaty was called the Treaty of Utrecht. This is when Spain gave up any idea of ever having Gibraltar again and its surrounding waters. That's my wife. I know, say hello. Yeah. 2. Okay. And that is why Gibraltar is British today. Although we know that the government in Spain wants to talk in negotiations with Gibraltar on a tripartite talks, but even so, that's a political thing, and we don't go into that. But Rahul, what's his name?
Rajoy?
Rajoy. He is interested in taking Gibraltar back again, but it's not going to happen. Okay, it's one of those things. The British government will not talk about sovereignty because Gibraltar is British protected. Although we got very little military here, but it is British protected. But anyway, we're going up to what we call Jews Gate. And the reason it's called Jews Gate is because just up here, there is a cemetery, a Jewish cemetery, no longer in use. So they named the area Jews Gate, and it's kept its name, although the cemetery is not used anymore. Everything moves with it. Okay, the cemetery is just here.
But this is not for us. It's not in use anymore, right? Jewish cemetery.
They bury them down at the frontier now, near the frontier. Alan, thank you. Okay, but as we made the climb, St. Michael's Cave during the Second World War, was converted into an emergency hospital. But it was never used as a hospital. And of course today it's back to its beautiful state. Inside the caves you've got stalactites and stalagmites. Now, to stop any confusion, a stalactite grows downwards. And they grow at the rate of 1 centimetre for every 100 years. So they're pretty slow growing. If you go towards the back of the cave, you'll see a cutting of one of the stalactites. And it does indicate by white marks that that particular stalactite started growing during the Ice Age. So it does take millions of years for one of these things to grow. It'll also tell you by brown marks when Gibraltar had the most amount of rain and the least amount of rain over a period of thousands of years. It makes an excellent photo, but be very careful with your flash. It is a highly polished surface and the flash can come back on your cameras. The best thing is take one without flash. You can take flash if you want, but the best photos is without flash. Then you get the true colours of the cave. If you look to your front on the road, you can see a monkey there.
Monkeys! Just waiting for us.
See how they get off the road. There's one here.
Stand there.
We're going to see plenty monkeys later, eh?
Vamos a ver mucho, no hay problema. No problem. We're going to see plenty of them.
Yeah. They will be at the cave. So tell her to take their photos. Take your photos of the monkeys at the caves, okay? Because that may be the only time you see them. So take your photos there.
Que hagáis las fotos al llegar a las cuevas, cuando lleguemos, hacéis las fotos, porque a lo mejor luego no van a estar, ¿vale? Tony ha dicho también que las fotos dentro de la cueva salen mucho mejor sin flash, ¿vale? Porque rebota. El flash rebota. No, we have to go up the hill.
Okay, as you probably know, the land over there on your right is Spain, of course. The big city there is called Algeciras. Now, the name Algeciras is a Moorish name for a Spanish city. Okay? The same as Alicante, Moorish. The Alhambra, Moorish. Alright? Anything that begins with A-L is Spanish, but it's got a Moorish name. Okay, from Morocco. But before Spain was actually named Spain, the Moors had already been there. And they made small towns. And they named them after Ahab. Okay, we're going to stop here. 25 minutes, okay? There should be monkeys in the area. There isn't.
Vamos a parar aquí.
Maybe by the restaurant.
Vamos a parar aquí durante 25 minutos para que podamos visitar la cueva. Con la entrada que tenéis, con el ticket, podemos entrar. Lo que va se entra por ahí, como vais viendo.
No.
No, oh, sorry.
Up the steps.
Oh, that's for the restaurant, probably.
No, that's for coming out. Now the bus will be parked behind where we are now, okay? Just up the road here.
El autobús estará aparcado cuando salgamos al otro lado, no aquí, es decir, a la salida de la cueva. Okay? So, to go to the cave, we have to
you have to go up.
Oh, up the steps.
Yeah. Now there is a souvenir shop up there, If you decide to buy a souvenir, buy it before going into the caves. The only reason I tell you that is because if you don't, and you go in the caves, oh, I want a souvenir, you have to go up here twice.
¿Vale? Si tenéis que comprar algún souvenir, hacerlo antes de entrar en la cueva, porque si no vais a tener que dar toda la vuelta otra vez y volver, ¿vale?
Podemos llevar la bolsa, la dejamos aquí.
Leave everything on the bus.
Podéis dejar aquí lo que queráis, ¿vale?
No,
en el
no
autobús.
problem.
Ningún problema. Mira los cañones que tienen ahí. Ahí abajo. Los cañones que tienen ahí abajo. Los blancos esos que serán, no sé si estarán en servicio o no, pero vamos. Están apuntando para España, ¿eh? No directamente, pero vamos, que en cuanto hagan así, están apuntando allí, a la casa de aquel, vamos. Y mira, el Mediterráneo y el Atlántico, ¿eh? Mira, qué guay. Eso hay que subir, perdón. Eso hay que verlo. Sí, por aquí sí es anchito.
Sí.
Including the addition of another 7 miles, 12 kilometres of tunnels.